everybody, bringing another video ahead of the weekend coming up. I'm going to be attending a team tournament. So what I'm going to do here is just a bit of an intro video. I'm going to go through the list, how the tournament's going to work, a little bit about how team tournaments work for those people that don't know, have never been to one before. Yeah, and just have this bit of an intro video. I'm also recording this on a new microphone, so I'm curious as to how the sound quality may be different and be improved. So we'll see how we get on with that one. So the tournament itself is a 3,000 point tournament, and it is consistent of 3-man teams. So each player within the team has a 3,000 point army. And at the start of each round, you decide in a pairing process which of the matchups are going to be in the round. So a team gets drawn against the team, and then within those teams there is a pairing process to decide which matchups are going to be. So there's a little bit of mind games and psychology and list chicken that goes on, because usually what you'll have from team to team is there'll be particular lists in the other team that you want to avoid, ones that you quite want to play against. So there's a bit of a mini game before the actual game itself in terms of trying to line those matchups up. So team tournaments are really interesting. It adds another level of I suppose complexity and just another level to the game. So the way the matchups work, or the way the pairings work, is I believe the team with the highest comp score, and obviously in this tournament, the higher the comp score, the better. It works on a tally comp system. Maybe a video for another day where I go for how the comp system works. But essentially, it is you start at 0, and each choice you take either reduces your score or increases your score. So the softer choices in a faction will increase your comp score, and the harder choices in your particular race will decrease your comp score. So the idea being is, if you take a softer list, you get a higher comp score, but then the comp score is added to your tournament points at the end of the tournament. So this particular event is a 4-game event. Let's say you take a really hard list and your comp score is like -10, -15 or something ridiculous like that. You 20-0 all your games, so you end up with 80 tournament points. Well, at the end of the tournament, that's actually reduced by 15 tournament points, or 10, or whatever your comp score is. And vice versa, if you take a soft list that is a +10 comp score, that's what it's capped at. You can't get any higher than a +10. Those 10 points are added to your score at the end of the tournament. So it can have quite a profound effect on any tournament placings, depending on what your comp score is. So the way the pairings are decided is the team with the highest comp score, I believe, gets to choose the pairings first. If I'm right, I'll be honest, I'll have to go back and read the comp pack to be sure. I was sort of a late attendee to this event to fill in a gap for a team, so I'll be honest, I've not really read the full pack. I just know it's a team event, 2,000 points, and it's Warhammer, so I'm going to be there. And the way the pairings work is the first team gets to put down one of their team's lists. So out of the 3 lists, they'll play one of them as their first pick. The other team in response then plays 2 potential opponents for that list, and then the first team that drops it picks which one of those 2 gets to play. Then the team that didn't put down the first list, they then put down one, and the other team puts their remaining 2 up against it. They pick the matchup, and then the lists that are left, one from each team, will then be automatically paired up against each other. So as I said, there's a little bit of mind games of who you drop when, which matchups do you want to try and avoid, and try and engineer the better matchups for not just for yourself, but for the team to win. Sometimes it's beneficial to throw someone under the bus, as the saying goes, so they get a really poor matchup that they're pretty much guaranteed to lose, in exchange for the other 2 matchups in your team being victories for the team, because ultimately that's what matters. It's across the team who which team wins the most games. It's not necessarily if you lose your game, your team can still win the round. So as I said, there's another element to it. So let's get into the list that I'm going to take. Then obviously, as you can see, I'm going to take my Bretonnians, and I have to apologise in advance for this video and to all my opponents. They are not painted. Fortunately, there is no painting requirements for this event. Otherwise, as you can see, I would not be in attendance. I do have 2 models that are painted, and 1 that is half painted. So I'm getting there. Obviously, I'm new to jumping back into this, so it's going to take a little bit of time, especially with Bretonians to work through all their heraldry and different colour schemes and things. So yeah, I'm not proud of playing with unpainted models, but hey, needs must sometimes. So we'll start with the Lord's choices and we'll work our way through. So we've got the customary Heroic Killing Blow Lord. He's got the Heartwood Lance, 1 up armor save with a 1-time reroll, and he's got a 2 up ward save against flaming attacks as well. Pretty standard build for Bretonnian Lords. One thing I should mention as well, actually, because it's important to explain some of the magic item loadouts on the characters, is throughout the team of 3, you can only use 1 of each magic item. So you can't take the Talisman of Preservation more than once in the team. So that has dictated some of the choices for my list and for my teammates' lists as well, because it means that between the 3 of us we have to decide, well, which items from the main rulebook are crucially important for us, and then you kind of have to divvy them up, and you have to make sacrifices so your opponents can get what they need. And vice versa. My teammates, not opponents, my teammates will make sacrifices so I can get the items that I need. So again, there's all sorts of layers to this event. So it's going to be a good one. So the green knight model in the middle there, he is going to be the Lord. As I say, Heroic Killing Blow, Heartwood Lance, 1 up armor save with a 1-time reroll, pretty standard. We've then got a Prophetess. She's going to be the grey Prophetess there in the middle. She's level 4 on Lore of Beasts. It's the first time I'm actually bringing Lore of Beasts on the level 4. Normally I go with Lore of Heavens. I don't really know why I chose Lore of Beasts this time. Kind of just for something different. Try some new things out. And then she's got the Falcon Horn. I think with the larger point size, probably going to see a lot of monsters. Things like Frostheart Phoenixes, Terrorgeists, potentially some dragons, chimeras, those sorts of things. So being able to take away their flight for a turn is really powerful. It's a really strong ability. So yeah, quite like the Falcon Horn. And at 3,000 points, you've got the extra wiggle room for these kind of luxury items that you wouldn't usually bring. We've then got a secondary Lord. He is on a Pegasus with a Charmed Shield. He has the Gauntlet of the Duel. He has a Virtue of Confidence and the Sword of Anti-Hero. So this guy is purely built as a character hunter. Again, with the nature of the tournament being 3,000 points, I'm expecting to come up against more characters, more character buses, more Death Stars, those sorts of things. So another thing to note that's quite important about the combat as well is across the board, Bretonnia were given devastating charge on all their knight units. So in theory, this Lord, when he charges into combat, he's going to obviously seek out a unit with a character in there. He's going to challenge. He's going to get base to base with them, so he's going to get his extra strength and attack. He's going to get devastating charge as well. So worst case scenario, he's doing 6 attacks at strength 5, rerolling to hit and rerolling to wound in the challenge. So he's going to kill some characters. He's going to hunt down BSBs. He's going to hunt down level 4 wizards. Any weaker fighting lords. He's obviously not very defensive. He's only got a 3 up armor save and the blessing, so he's not as tanky as a typical Bretonnian lord usually is with a 1 up save, but he's been built pretty killy to go character hunting. And he's a Bretonnian lord on a peg, so he can still take out things like war machines, small archer units, fast cavalry, flank charges on chariots, those sorts of things. So he's a quite useful piece to have. So that's the lore choices. We'll move on to heroes. So we've got a damsel. Level 2, she's also rocking Lore of Beasts, and she's bringing a Dispel Scroll. Now, the Dispel Scroll is the one magic item that you can take one of in every list. That was the one exception to the no duplications of magic items rule. The BSB can only get to a 2-up reroll instead of a 1-up reroll, and that is because I can't take the Enchanted Shield, because one of my teammates has got the Enchanted Shield. So he's rocking the Armour of Agaluf instead, and obviously it makes him weapon skill 10 with a 2-up reroll. So he's quite defensive. Obviously he's going to be hard to hit. Weapon skill 10 will combo quite nicely with things like the Curse of Anrahir spell, because generally then he'll be getting hit on 5s or potentially 6s if it's weapon skill 4. So he's quite defensive, so that sort of counteracts the 2-up reroll rather than 1-up reroll a little bit. We've then got a Paladin who's also on a Pegasus, so he's on the lower down Pegasus model there, and he's just got a Lance and a Shield. So he's got a 3-up armor save as well, but he's going to be rocking the Virtue of the Ideal. So this is quite an interesting virtue. Its downside is pretty awful in terms of him, you know, the character can't be the general. He has a -1 modifier to any leadership within 6 inches of him, so you don't want him really in any units. But for this character that's going to be flying around on a peg, paying the 35 points to effectively turn this Paladin into a Lord, it's actually quite good value, particularly at 3,000 points when, as I say, you've got some extra spare points. Making this Paladin go to weapon skill 7, initiative 6 with 4 attacks, turning him into, I say, like Lord level stats for a pretty reasonable points cost. It's actually quite interesting. So again, this guy's going to be built for hunting down things like fast cav units, chariots, small units, flying into, you know, war machines. I think he's a useful tool to bring. I think there's certain scenarios where for the cheapness of the model, for the damage output, because again, remember, he has devastating charge, so he's going to be doing, you know, 5 attacks on a charge with his lance, weapon skill 7, initiative 6, so he can do some damage in lots of different scenarios. So I'm quite looking forward to using that piece. Just got to remember to be careful with his placement, with his leadership negative modifier. We've then got another Paladin, the painted one there. He's just got a 1-up rerollable. He's got the Gromwell Great Helm, Lance and a Shield. Keeping him fairly cheap, but it's also part of being able to build a bit of a character wall. So the idea being is he'll sit in the front rank, probably with the BSB and the 1-up armor save Lord. They'll sit in the front of a unit, and they'll be obviously my main beat stick unit. And they'll also, with their good armor rerolls, they can soak up a lot of damage. You know, that's how Bretonnians sort of work, right? We've then also got one final Paladin, and he's just got the Virtue of the Impetuous Knight and a Lance and a Shield. So each individual character has been designed with a task in mind. There's not any sort of wasted characters that have been thrown in just for the sake of it. Like, they've all got a very specific job. So yeah, quite a good selection of characters there, and each one has their role and their place. So onto core then, quite again pretty standard. Just got 3 units of 12 Knights of the Realm. They've all got full command, and the white unit there in the centre, they've got the Banner of the Eternal Flame. Really wanted to get a Banner of Swiftness on one of the units, but again, one of my teammates is using that, and it's more important for his particular list than it is for mine. So I was more than willing to bow out of that one and let him take the Banner of Swiftness. Obviously, it's a great combination with the Virtue of the Impetuous Knight Paladin, but in the grand scheme of things, movement 8, movement 9, it's not a huge loss. It was more important for my teammate, so I let him take it. And then I've also got 15 Peasant Bowmen with full command, more just to fill the points. I mean, what we're looking at here in this picture is pretty much every Bretonnian model that I own, other than a few spare knights. So I literally just scraped to 3,000 points. So yeah, Peasant Bowmen in there, and with the longbows, they've got good range. They can sort of sit just in the middle of the table. They can take out, you know, any sort of chaffing units, war dogs, fast cav, eagles, those sorts of things. They have their place, and they can be quite useful. Special choices then, I've got 2 units of 5 mounted yeomen being proxied by these Empire Outrider models. The keen eyes of you may have noticed they don't have any arms on them yet. There's obviously these Outrider guys come with braces of pistols and repeater handguns. I'm just waiting on some bits from some other units so I can actually give the mounted yeomen sort of spears and shields and bows and things, so they actually look like mounted yeomen. So they are armless at the moment, but yeah, as I say, there's no payment requirements for this event. Doing what they can to help keep the 8th edition scene alive. And then what would be a Bretonnian army without unit Pegasus Knights? Four pegs with a musician, and obviously champion in there as well, as you always get them for free. And then on the list, again pretty customary for most Bretonnian lists, are the 2 trebuchets, and that rounds out the 3,000 points. There's not a lot of surprises. It's very character heavy. Again, I'm relying on the model collection that I have. If I had additional models, additional options available to me, there probably would be changes to the list, but this is what I'm going with. Be interesting to see how Lure of Beasts gets on. As I say, I've never actually taken it before on a level 4. It's kind of always just been the backup lore on the level 2 for the cheap Wissons. So it'd be quite interesting to have access to 2 Wissons now, to maybe force it through a little bit easier. Excuse me. And yeah, see what the other spells in the lore can offer. Things like, Curse of Anra here, the Amber Spear, even things like Flock of Doom, while it's very corner case, can have its uses. Can't get any use out of Transformation of Kadon, which is disappointing, but it's something that we'll deal with from time to time. And there's also Savage Beast of Horus, which, with all these characters in the list, getting that out as a bubble, that could be absolutely killer on the right turn. So I'm going to battle report every game. There's 4 games over the weekend. There's 2 on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday. Obviously 3,000 points to take a little bit more time than a 2,500 point game or 2,400 points. So the game's going to be a little bit longer, but I'm going to battle report them all. So expect those to drip feed into the channel over the next couple of weeks. So I'll see you in the next one.